まるで妻が夜な夜な内職してコツコツ稼いだお金で働きもせず飲む打つ買うをする典型的にダメな旦那のやつない。誰が妻や。
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of 3 out of 10 anime fans recommend you check out this podcast if you ever get reincarnated into another world, aka 3 out of 10 anime. This show is all about having fun conversations to rank anime on a standard set of criteria so they can be compared, contrasted, and recommended. We discuss a different show or movie each week, so whether you're a seasoned weeb or new to the genre, we know you'll have a good time. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here's the agenda for each episode. We start by giving our first impression of the show or movie in one sentence, then go to our personal enjoyment, which is a scale of 1 to 10 based on our own personal rubrics for how much we liked watching the show. Then we have a little intermission for some fun facts. Then we get into our technical assessment, which is a 1 to 10 collective rubric on how good we thought the show was technically. Then at the end, we give our comparisons and recommendations and announce what we're covering in next week's episode. I'm Brett.
I'm Skyler.
And I'm Braden.
We are your hosts from the United States. We each have varying opinions, tastes, and backgrounds, which should result in some interesting and relatable dialogue, no matter who you are. We're grateful you're all joining us for our discussion about this week's show, Kaguya-Sama, Love is War. The rom-com available on Crunchyroll. We're covering all 3 seasons, so spoiler warning, expect them. We open the whole kimono and leave nothing out. So, without further ado, how would you guys describe your impressions of Kaguya-Sama in one sentence?
Brett, why don't you take us away this time?
You know what? I will. And I have a perfect example. If anyone's been watching the show, you know I like analogies. So I have an analogy for this show. Kaguya-Sama is like waking up in the morning refreshed and ready for the 5K that you signed up for, and you drive to the race, you park, you get there, you're stretching, and then you see a sign that says it's a 10K. And you're a little surprised. You're like, okay, well, all right, I'm just going to do it. And by the 5K mark, you're feeling pretty good. But then by the 7K mark, the 9K mark, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're done. And by the time the 10K over, you're like, okay, all right, I don't want to do that again. And you're done. That's my impression of Kaguya-Sama.
Okay.
In a long run-on sentence. It's like running a 10K when you expected to sign up for a 5K.
You know what? I got to follow yours up because I got an analogy too for you guys.
Okay, do it.
So my one sentence impression of Kaguya-Sama Love is War is the opposite of Brett's. Okay, Skyler, your turn.
All right.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that later. It's coming.
So Kaguya-Sama Love is War to me is like a Sherlock Holmes approach to rom-com, which turned into a drama for a while, which I actually wasn't expecting and appreciated.
That is probably the best one sentence of the 3 of us. That's really good.
Talking about, I put a lot of effort into mine.
Okay, so let's actually start getting in. As we get into our personal enjoyment rankings, a reminder for everyone, you can find our rubrics of our personal enjoyment table 1 to 10 on 310anime.com, 310anime.com. There's also a lot of other great stuff on there, such as About Us and some links to some fun things. So go check out the website, 310anime.com. What did you guys give Kaguya-Sama Love is War on a scale of 1 to 10 for personal enjoyment? Braden, should I start since yours is based off of mine, or should Skyler start because he give the best?
I can start.
Okay, go Skyler. Go Skyler.
So I actually gave Kaguya-Sama a 9.
Whoa.
So for me, that's pretty high. And then just part of an addition to that for what a 9 means for me is that it is a show that I really enjoyed. I will readily recommend, and I will watch it again with others. And this is something I have done.
All right.
Vibe. Good. Yep, good.
Okay, I'll go next.
Actually, Brett, can I go next?
Do you? Okay, go next. Braden, do it.
Mine has a little bit of independence here because when I first watched this with our anime club, you guys remember I gave this one a 3. That was just the first season. I watched the first season. I gave it a 3 out of 10. By the end of it, when we were preparing for this episode, and watched season 2 and season 3, it's sufficient. It's now a 7 for me is where I'm landing it on.
That's
So,
a huge jump.
That's a big
It's
jump
a
for
big
you.
jump.
I can't wait to hear why it jumped for you. But give us what's a 3 show for you and what's a 7 show for you.
Yes. So a 3 show is one that I would not recommend to friends, family, people I care about. And because the 5 is a tier for that. And also, I did enjoy my time. Like for some reason or another, I felt enough need to watch the entire season, but I wasn't happy with the experience. So, far conversely, my 7 scores are ones that have things that touch on inspirational, but have some major issues that pick it up this or that, whatever. It was an enjoyable experience. I enjoyed my time, and it was. I acknowledge that it's earnestly reaching towards something. I like that. I like stuff that do that. So my 7s.
Okay, interesting. I also give Kaguya-Sama a 7 for personal enjoyment, which might be surprising after my 1-sentence overview. But for me, a 7 show is a great show that keeps me interested. I'm entertained, I'm engaged, but it has some things that seriously bother me, or it just doesn't really suck me in. And like for me, the higher echelons of shows, they like pull me in, and it's like I really get devoted to like the characters in the show and everything. So okay, now we're gonna dive into why we gave it a 7, and a 9. Could we start with Braden? Braden, do you want to start by telling us like what took it from a 3 to a 7 for you?
All right. So I have what might possibly be the worst introduction to this show that could possibly be experienced, because when I was told about this show, Kaguya-Sama, going into season 1 to watch season 1, I was told it's going to be like a show between 2 major power characters that are very clever, going to do whatever they can to outwit the other. Kind of like Death Note or Code Geass is what I interpreted it. I don't know if they said that,
okay.
but man, which is not terribly far from what happened, except for there's no complex shenanigans. It's all very subtle and happens 2 or 3 times an episode.
Yeah.
So that was.
So
I mean, there's some pretty witty moments. Like the first episode in particular, right, is like very intense. Like she planned the whole thing into his mailbox.
Sure, of course, but that's not a full season for 1 point. No, they score multiple points an episode because there's a tally mark that gets kept across every episode of who's getting what points.
True.
And so that is not what I was expecting going in. That actually very much threw me out of the loop. Expecting that.
So you were expecting a long plot for these intellectual battles, but they were short, quick ones, and that's what threw you off.
Yep. I was trying to tie them together for like episodes on end, and then there was like a board game that happened, and then there was like a cat ears that happened. I'm like, what? I can't put this together. This is not The Great Pretender, right? This is a parody anime of rom-com isms. It's great. It ends up being great, but that's not how you introduce people to this one. It's clever. It's small.
So what ended up taking it to a 7?
Well, I do want to get into that because there's a lot of juice there. But what were your guys' experience with season 1? Like, what was season 1 for you guys?
Season 1 for me was like an 8.5 or a 9. I loved season 1. It was hilarious. Like there were I don't remember a show I've really laughed out loud as hard at as I have Love is War. And that includes season 2 and 3, but particularly season 1. Like season 1 really hooked me, and it was funny, it was relatable, the characters were engaging, the scenarios were fun. Where it started to go downhill for me was the last few episodes of season 1 when I realized what the show was going to be. What I mean by that is at the end of season 1, they completely reset everything. They literally start over. Like, they even say it in the last episode, like, and we're back where we begun. And I was like, no, they should be making progress in like, they're hinting at a relationship, and then the last episode they just like, that reset button. Let's just milk this money cow for season 2.
They're winking, they're nodding, they're doing little flirty faces at it, but they're not gonna go there. They're not gonna touch it because that's the point of the whole thing, Brett.
I know it's the point of the whole thing, but you don't have to do that. Like, season 2 did, like, anyway, we're talking about season 1.
Yes.
I loved season 1 until the last, like, 2 episodes. And then when I realized what was happening, that was my moment of being like, oh, great, I signed up for a 10K.
Is the end of season 1. Yeah.
Exactly. And then that made me just hate season 2.
Oh, no.
So, like, I hated season 2. I couldn't
Season
stand season 2.
You mean it's just a rom-com?
It's just a rom-com?
And that's the thing. All the things that made season 1 great. Sorry, we're starting on season 2. All the things that made season 1 great, like, to me, was like season 2 just either completely repeated with no originality, or it just stopped doing altogether. Like, there wasn't a season 1 episode 1 moment in season 2 the whole time. It was
like the end of season 2 is one of my favorite moments of the entire show. In fact, I'm gonna put that as probably the best well-told story of a side character in most of anime. Honestly,
I don't care. I don't care about the side characters.
Okay.
I don't care about the side characters. The side characters could fall off a cliff.
No.
Because I don't care.
He worked so hard to say F you to that one girl that bullied him because he inadvertently saved her, and that made her break her heart, and it's so sad.
I was so bored by the time that moment came up.
Brett.
I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I was so bored by the time it got there. I was like, finally, can we get back to the main story, please?
Oh, no. Oh, the redemption, though. And, man, the audacity to have that as the season finale for season 2. That was a 2-part episode.
I know. How disappointing.
What
How
in the
disappointing.
world?
How disappointing.
Hey, again, for a parody anime, which I know, Brett, you hate parody anime. For parody anime on rom-comisms, that is perfect. It is exactly on the nose where it should be.
Yeah. Well, okay. If this show wasn't so playing in both worlds of trying to be both a parody and an actual romance, it wouldn't have bothered me nearly as much. Like, the parody aspect of it, like, sure, I can admire, but, like, yeah. I hated that, man. Whenever a romance anime, and all romance anime does this, whenever they take, like, the final 3 episodes to completely focus on the main characters, to me, it feels like a gut check. It's like, oh, things are starting to get interesting between the main characters, and we're going to go on a break and focus on the side characters for 3 episodes. Like, every romance anime does this, and it drives me absolutely crazy. I hate it.
All right.
I hate when they do that.
We got a nice, love potion soup swirling in here, but we need some more ingredients. We need Agent X over there. Skyler, where are you at with all this?
So I gave it a 9, and that was through season 1, season 2, and season 3 did dip it down a little bit, but that was brought up by season 3 for me. And I guess for me, I just enjoyed it, where I'm the type of person where it's like, if I understand what it is that you're trying to do, and I like it, then I'm on board. And so for me, with Kaguya-Sama, like I said, it's a rom-com, and so the episodic, semi-reset thing that they do, I was on board with it, and so I didn't have any expectations of there being actual progress, because that's what rom-coms do.
But they did make progress.
But they did, and
they teased it.
No. Not only did they tease it, they did it in season 3.
Season 3,
They
the big moment. They touched hands.
Exactly.
Oh!
And so for me, that's why in my one sentence it was a rom-com that turned into a drama, and I was on board with it. Mm-hmm. Because in season 3, you kind of see that transition from rom-com into the drama.
Yeah, Skyler, where did we land at with that drama? What was that story like? What did you really like about that part?
Well, that there was progress and that they were actually doing stuff.
See, are you referring to like the last 2 episodes where he's doing the big setup?
So that wasn't just the last 2 episodes. So essentially, it's like, what is it, like the first or second episode of season 3, when he finally makes his decision of like, hey, I'm going to go to America and study. That's where it started. Because what it does is it sets a deadline. It sets like a do or die moment in the series where now there's stakes.
And
that's
I
why
was good with that. I was good with that because I'm like, okay, now something has to happen. They have to make progress. And they did. And again, the season 3 finale was amazing and I loved it, but I was so tired. And by the end, I was like, finally they got here. And I told my wife this because we watched this one together, every episode, season 1 through 3. I said, if they don't start season 4 in a relationship, I am going to stop watching and I'm going to lower my score to a 6.
So I am current on the manga.
I was going to say, is there
No
is there
spoilers.
more?
I'm not going to spoil it. I am not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it.
I don't know.
I like what I've read. I will phrase it as that.
Okay.
Man.
If they don't, I'm telling you, if episode 1 is not them in a relationship, and I'm hopeful because the after credit scene of season 3 was them holding hands behind the desk. So like, but so help me, if they're not in a relationship at the start of season 4, I will not watch the show. I will be furious.
Man, I would rather this just end here because it's hard. It's hard for rom-coms to like make a landing, right? And where they got to, that's a great line for the show. It's like, all right, they did it. We're done. Everybody go home. The show's over. There's no more to see. They've done all the bits and the jokes. Why go further? But now the joke, they're trying to make a new joke. Like, the joke's different now.
Yes.
Where are they going to go with that?
And that's
maybe I
the
won't
weird
watch it anymore.
thing. That's the weird thing I want to touch on with the manga, is because, like I said in season 3, where they transition from a rom-com into a drama.
Yeah.
There's a few times where it feels like they're trying to shift back a little bit just to like bring the stakes down a little bit, just take a breather, and then do some of the rom-com stuff. But it feels out of place compared to where the story is flowing.
Okay.
So, but it's only for a couple of like brief just moments, and it's just interesting as how I'm going to phrase it.
Okay.
So I'm very, very curious to see, because even with season 3, I was very excited to see how far they would get in season 3. And while I'm disappointed at where they ended, it just means that you pick up from there in season 4. Because there's some stuff coming.
Man, are we just a wild bunch, we three? There's no straight line talking points here.
Okay.
And I can't go into it without spoiling.
Yeah.
Love is War is the My Hero Academia of the rom-com world for me. My Hero Academia takes so fetching long to get rolling. It's like, I feel the same way with that as I do Kaguya-Sama.
See,
it's like, can you move on?
And then I'm kind of evolving to like, this is like a spread of ice cream at like an ice cream shop. It's like, you're going to come back every season and get that sneaking strawberry episode of the board game. Every season you're going to come back and get a chocolate episode with the butler maid trying to do the flirts on our main boy, Shirogane. But, because like they reuse these like little mini stories they like telling. My favorite of which being the, pink hair, who's her name?
Fujiiwara.
Including her bit of teaching our main boy how to do anything. She taught him volleyball. She taught him how to turn howling into singing. She was getting sideswiped by Kaguya on teaching him how to dance. And then in season 3, she teaches him how to rap.
The rap.
It was so good. Oh, that episode is so good. I love that dynamic.
So
I love it.
One thing I want to add to that just makes it even just that bit better is that it becomes a trope within Love is War, and it becomes a joke even within the Love is War. So, for example, in season 3, when he starts to do the balloon thing, what happens with Fujiiwara? She's like, oh
PTSD.
no. But she still does it, but you just skip that whole arc. You just know that it happens.
Or in the rap episode, he teaches her how to rap so she can teach him how to rap. And then the last like 6 minutes, Ari is a rap. He's laying down beats. He's cussing forward. I'm like, yeah, hit him, man.
And the special outro for that episode was a rap.
Yeah, that was good. That was okay. That was awesome. There are legitimately so many things I love about this show. Like, I couldn't give a show a 7 if I didn't actually really like it. And like, you've touched on a lot of those moments. Like, Fujiiwara is awesome. Miko Ino is great. Actually, one of my favorite episodes, it is my favorite episode. The one where like I had to pause the show because I was laughing so hard I was like crying, was the episode where the new student council member, Miko Ino, comes into the room and Shirogane is like on the couch and like the limb is like going up and I was dying. I was laughing so hard.
So for how hard you bagged on season 2, that was a season 2 scene.
I know it was. I'm saying there are great moments in season 2 that I really enjoyed. Was season 2 or season 1 where Kaguya got sick and then Shirogane went over to season 1?
So that was season 1 because that's what actually got me on to watching Love is War. The amount of anime that I have started watching off of a meme is honestly shameful. So if someone ever asked, was like, would you ever watch an entire anime for a meme? The answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's the circles I run in.
Yeah. So there are so many good moments. I'm bagging on the show mostly because I loved it so much. I wanted to continue loving it, but I kept being given reasons to like be tired of it. And I was like, I don't want to be tired of the show. It's awesome. Also, I would recommend Love is War to like literally anyone. Like everyone should watch Love is War. It's a very, very good show. I also just, as I've said with romance shows in the past, I always want more from my romance shows. I want them to be a couple sooner. I want to see them in a relationship. They'd better kiss at the end of season 1 or I'm not going to be happy.
Season 4.
And there better be a season 2. No, I'm saying in romance shows in general. And there better be a season 2 where they're in a relationship. Like it's gotta move, baby. I gotta see the romance happen.
I mean,
depending on what happens in season 4.
Oh boy, I'm only 4. And do I have to wait till season 6 for them to like actually like hug and whatever?
Yeah.
No comment.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
What else did you guys like or not like?
That I honestly run through most of my stuff I've got because like that's you pretty much hit it for me. It's like I had a terrible season 1 experience, but it has strong moments and it likes playing on its own jokes, and I get those jokes. They make me laugh and smile and feel funny. So by the end of season 3, I was happy with how it went. I'm very sad with the notion of a season 4 because of the reasons I've already stated. Like, I don't want it to keep going. So
Interesting.
I have a little note, but that's kind of more of a roundup, rapid fire than a talking point.
That's interesting because, well, I guess it's no surprise. For me, I guess that my ranking would go, season 1 would be a 9, season 2 would be an 8.5, and then season 3, 9.5. Which balances out at the 9. So for me, I've just enjoyed it the entire time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. There were a couple other things that I actually did really like. So the intro song for season 1 is literally one of the best anime intro songs ever made. Da, 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 da. It's so good. And they mimic like the James Bond Get Smart style spycraft intro filmography, and like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And the music throughout the show is also very good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yep. I think that, well, no, I guess this goes here, but yeah, it gets extra mention because it is on my Spotify playlist, the opening for season 1.
Nice.
There you go. It was my phone ringtone for a solid like 3 or 4 months. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I did like the interactions between the main characters and the side characters a lot. Even like Shiragane's little sister Kai, Shoko, Koyasu, the boys and girls they give like romance advice to, Kashiwagi,
Kashiwagi.
Nagase, yeah, Nagase. Like I that was kind of funny, but ironically, and I think Braden's gonna disagree with me. My least favorite side characters were Hayasaka.
Interesting. I will disagree with you. I mean, not that that was your least favorite, but I quite liked Hayasaka.
I just never connected with her
actually
story at all.
And I know why I like her too, is because the characters in this show, I was introduced to this anime as being powerful characters that like worked intricately together, right? But honestly, Hayasaka is the most powerful character in this anime besides Chika Fujiiwara, and she's my other favorite character.
And she doesn't know she's powerful. She's the ignorant powerful.
Yes, she is.
I is the omnipotent powerful.
Yes. So that's why because she gets to like make moves on our main boy because they can her charge Kaguya challenges her to, and that resolves in the wrap episode, and it's so good.
That karaoke episode.
That's what
the karaoke episode.
Really funny. That was so good. Like I was surprised how far they took some of the jokes in that episode. I was laughing pretty hard. Yes. That was good. That was really
anyway. So yeah, I disagree.
Even Fujiiwara in that episode coming in all happy was like, "Oh, Shiragane's here. Let's go." I'm good.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Okay, any other stuff for enjoyment or not enjoyment?
Yeah, I have a note on not enjoyment because we're kind of already there. The main guy, man, was he just a lip noodle for like 2 seasons. Man, I could not stand his character at all for a long time.
Oh, really?
Because
interesting.
It seemed like when they were doing battle in these episodes, his strength was to like look tired and smile a little bit, and oh no, how can I resist that little Wayne smile? Oh my gosh. Well, sticking Kagi on the other end is spending like multiple thousands of dollars to hire a bunch of people to spy on him and to subtly tweak his path to like make it to a certain point to intercept it with a phone or something. That stuff is cool. Like she's wielding like something interesting and powerful, and he has to like smirk or not respond, and that's his superpower. And I'm like, man, I mean, by the end he can dance and sing and do a whole jig. That's great. He gets there, especially like when he puts together the dragon at on the school building for the ball, whatever that thing was, and the whole end setup. Yes, more of that, dude. Please make a move, dude. Yeah. But yeah, I thought he was the worst for a long time.
Hey, he took some good initiative, like during the fireworks episode and some of those ones, right?
He does things. That is the thing that I find it really surprising, is that he does do things, and that. But for both of them, this goes for both Kaguya and Shirogane, is that it often backfires on them. So like you mentioned Kaguya, where she spent all these thousands of dollars to get him to get the phone. Oh, but she has a phone that doesn't even have line.
Yes.
And so he is doing stuff for, like, even in that phone episode, like the whole like, oh, this is a childhood photo thing. That was a deliberate decision that he made to try and force her hand.
It just is so much more tame compared to her. Like, that's just so lame. That's just like so normal a thing to do. I wanted superhuman. I want intelligent people going crazy on each other.
Fair.
So here's a letdown for me.
Okay, anything else? Likes, dislikes?
Yeah, I got one last bullet point, but this is a bullet point and only because I'll be talking about it 1,000 times, that rap episode. If you listen to the dub of the rap episode, when he's screeching and wailing and like making the most raucous noise to show off his rap skills to Fujiiwara. At the very end of it, he says very clearly, "Mom spaghetti."
Ah, yes.
And I was like, yeah, that's what's up.
Go.
That's how you write a dub. Let's go. For those of you who don't know, that's a rap reference for a very popular song by Eminem.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know that, it's kind of disappointed.
You look it up.
Sorry.
It's a good song.
I don't listen to rap.
Oh, you've got to know this song though, right? Like, there's vomit on his sweater already. He's nervous. Mom spaghetti.
No.
Oh no.
Come on, do the rest of it, Brett.
Oh,
You got his memory, Brett. You gotta keep going.
Oh no, I can't. I'm too heartbroken, man.
Oh, so sad.
If it comes to rap, yeah, I expect your heart to be broken when it comes to me.
Oh,
No, it's
no.
okay. At least just go listen to this one song. At least go listen to the
I'll go check it out later.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
So
It's like
okay.
it's like the quintessential like drive workout video or song.
It's like the modern
it's so-
Eye of the
it, like,
Tiger.
hypes you. Yeah, the modern Eye of the Tiger. Exactly.
All right. Okay, that's me. Bullet points. What do you guys got? Let's wrap this up.
I really liked the animation and the art style. It was fun. It was engaging. It was comical. There was a lot of great moments. It was very I like the more saturated, bright shows anyway, the more modern style of animation. But this one, I think, particularly went above and beyond in a lot of areas. I really like the animation. I already mentioned the music. I did like a lot of the deeper moments that it went into the characters, even though I was tired by the time Izumi, or what was his name? Ishigami. By the time Ishigami finally got his thing, I was happy about it. I liked the character, even though I was tired. And I liked the interactions between all of them. Fujiiwara, best girl. She's
Absolutely.
awesome. So yeah, she's it's a highlight character for sure.
Okay.
Those are my quick bullets. Sky.
The whole show for me was generally good. There wasn't really that much that dragged it down. There were some times where the humor just didn't quite land for me, or that it was dragged out, which is why it's sitting at a 9, not higher. But I generally really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So let's really quickly, how do our rankings stack up to other people's rankings in terms of personal enjoyment? So on IMDb, 8.6 out of 10, and on my anime list, 8.4 out of 10. That sounds pretty close to the average between the three of us. It's a very well-liked show. In fact, Kaguya-Sama is popularity number 60 on my anime list.
I was gonna bring that up.
Very high. It's even ranked. Sorry, Skyler. It's even ranked 158. Rank 158 in terms of score, which is very, very, very high. Anyway, so there's some how we stack up to other people. That being the segue into Skyler. What fun facts do you have for us?
Yeah, what do you got this week?
So, fun fact. So, where you mentioned the animation and just the general quality, this was done by A1 Pictures. So, the same studio that did Sword Art Online and other very, very notable anime. A1 Pictures is a very well-known studio. And then this is one that was not based off of a light novel. It actually came from a manga. So, the manga is the original source material. And then some fun facts. So, everybody knows the Chica dance that is done in the credits. So that was done via rotoscoping. And so for those who are unfamiliar, rotoscoping is where they take a video of an actor doing the dance and they essentially draw over the actor for the animation. And so the Chica dance was exactly.
That probably helps it become more of a meme, because a person can do it, I can do it too. I can see the movements.
Well, no. So rotoscoping is you take the video plate that you did the recording on, and you pretty much just trace over it. and they had to do some modifications to have it match Fujiiwara, but they're essentially drawing over an actor doing the dance
Yeah.
for rotoscoping.
Yeah.
So, fun fact number 2, Fujiwara's voice actress was in the Pretty Cure anime. And in Love is War, she asks Ishigami if he will be spending like his holiday break playing games or watching Pretty Cure.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
So that's a bit of a
cool.
fun thing.
What's the other one called?
Pretty Cure, so Pretty Cure is the English pronunciation for it, but in Japanese, that's how they pronounced it.
Pretty Curie. Okay.
And
Cool,
then,
cool.
so third fun fact, the original name for the series was going to be IQ. And so, like in English, it is a measurement of intelligence, but in Japanese, it was also an entendre for love-seeking or love-longing.
Interesting.
I'm glad they did what they did. That's
Yeah.
a good fight. That's a
Yeah,
good fight.
that's really interesting.
And then just another note, so apparently two live action movies have been made off of Love is War, and there's something about an anime movie.
What?
Oh no. Oh no.
2?
No.
So there's been
Really?
2 live action movies made.
Oh.
Didn't really look into them, but I just saw that they've been made. I was like, huh, okay. One was in
I-
2019.
I don't wanna
and one was in
ask,
2021.
but
I had to swallow a little bit to get the throw up in my mouth
Yeah.
to go back down.
I don't
like
wanna-
okay. Live action anime movies are atrocious. They are some of the worst media on the planet. They are so
Uh-huh.
bad.
They saw
So
the live
bad.
action Avatar the Airbender. Like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
how we should
yeah,
do anime
yeah.
movies. That's how we should do live action. Is the Avatar one?
I just watched something today on how bad the second live action movie for Full Metal Alchemist was. Even watching the review, it was bad. Oh.
Man, yeah, I mean, man, they could do a rom-com, right? Come on, the rom-com's like a formula all this time. I'm gonna watch it. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh my
I'm gonna go and
gosh.
watch it. I'm gonna try it.
I was
I
just,
just
watching,
watched 5 seconds of the trailer and I feel oh no.
Oh no!
I was watching you.
Oh
I was
my
watching your reaction and I saw that. Oh no.
Oh no! Oh no!
So that's a
Okay.
thing.
Oh
did it.
no!
You
Okay,
know-
for copyright issues. Oh no! Oh no!
That's what you get, listeners. That's what you get.
Oh no! Oh
I'm having a good time just watching you.
no! Oh no! Okay, look.
He's
Okay,
enjoying
I'm-
himself. Look, he's so happy. He's
No,
crying.
no. These are tears of pain. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna. Okay, go watch this episode on YouTube because I'm gonna, in the bottom right corner, I'm gonna have this playing while I'm reacting to it. Without audio,
Oh.
you don't need audio.
Oh no.
You don't need it to really.
Oh.
Oh man,
Oh,
that
boy.
was. Oh man. Woo. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's do that.
let's move on to the technical. I'm all out of sorts. All right, let's move on to the technical assessment section. Again, as a reminder, you can find our technical rubric online at 310anime.com to see how we're ranking all of this. So this is broken up into 4 categories. So we have art, story, characters, and delivery. We tally it all up, give it a final score at the end to see how it stacks up to other shows. We always start with art. Art includes music, animation, sound design, and art style. 1 is terrible, 5 is excellent for all of our shows. 3 is the same for all categories. It's met on par with what you would expect for an average show. It doesn't stand out for being particularly good or bad. But Braden, for art, what is a 1? What is a 5?
For art, our terrible animes are one that have a composition that is frequently ugly, messy, disjointed, bland, boring, repetitive, and poorly done. While exceptional animes are ones that are always beautiful, cohesive, fitting, engaging, notable, ambitious, and expertly performed.
Okay.
Quick
All right. Let's jump in. Skyler,
interjection.
start.
So, with the composition is always beautiful, there is a certain scene from the finale of season 2 that comes to mind. That was memed all over Reddit when it came out. And this is when the balloon blows up, and then it shows Kaguya's figure. And the meme is essentially them like taking like the golden rule and like putting it over and showing how it's like the perfect composition. It was a joke, but it was still funny, and I felt like it fit to this.
Well, let's
yeah.
use that, Skyler, to segue in. How do you think technically the art was for the show?
I think it was good because I don't know, just in general, A1 seems to do a really good job at delivering on what they need to do for the animation and just general art style of an anime. It's not common for me to see things that are just straight up bad with A1 stuff. And the same thing applies to Kaguya-Sama. Either I enjoyed it too much to like notice the jarring animation, or there just wasn't that much.
I think the art style particularly was really engaging, and I'm also going to use the word ambitious. The reason I'm using the word ambitious is they did a lot of moments in the show where they completely changed their animation style, or they used a different technique, or they had a callback to another like spy show. Like they did that constantly. So like I actually think that the animation and art from this show was not only engaging, I think it was ambitious. I think it was notable.
Absolutely.
And the music was quite good. The music was quite good for this show.
I was going to say, you've brought that up a few times already.
Yeah. Braden, what are you thinking?
You have to go backwards on your music note. I don't remember much of the music. I remember the intro song, but it's a nice little it's not quite Demon Slayer, or Attack on Titan season 1 for me. But it's a nice little tune. And I honestly second the whole notion of the animation style being like ambitious and wild. They are imaginative and creative in many scenes to portray things and their characters in ways that make sense, even if they're not like realistic. Let's say, like when our main boy is a zombie, he's a zombie and he's licking all over the place. I think that's somewhere in season 2. I'm thinking of a specific scene, but yeah, the fresh flavor of just so many different styles and so many different like portrayals of scenes happening, from the Bob fuses to the zombie walks. This is refreshing and honestly a good thing to walk in now and again. Well, I think the baseline art style is anime, and it's anime for anime's purposes. It fills its scenes room, but its base art style is like a platform for the other wild stuff to accent, and not so much a note in itself.
Let me see if I could jog your memory real quick on the music note, if I could. And I'll send you a playlist after this episode. But if you remember, here's why I think the music stands out from other shows. Because the score was so vastly different between the different tracks on the soundtrack. So if you remember, when there was like a spy moment that was really intense, it would be this like movie themed like dunna, 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 like strings and like fast tempo, and it was like intense spy music, like I've got to pull off this plan, da da da, like heist music, right? Then during the romance parts, there were a couple different sounds of romance tracks. There was like the intentionally cheesy parody tracks, but then there were the genuine romantic tracks that were way more melodic and less syncopated, and they actually like came across as romance. Like, and then there were other tracks that were supposed to signify like the elitism of a top 1% student at school that had some horns and a really bouncy rhythm, like
harpsichord.
And lots of harpsichord. Like all the tracks were so different that like that is a very expensive and intentional thing that I think puts the music on a higher level. So I'll send you the track list. Just like listen to like 5 seconds from each track in just the OST soundtrack, and you'll be like, oh wow, yeah, it's very whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, that's my high horse for the music. I think the music in Kaguya-Sama is notable and ambitious.
And it could have just be that it was fitting, and it just like went with the scene, so I didn't think about it because I didn't think about it. It's just
Yeah.
I remember
true.
thinking anything bad or anything that took me out with the music. It just happened.
Yeah, we're very different in that way, where like I intentionally think about what is this music right now, what is it conveying, what instruments are being used, what's the rhythm,
It's
the
true.
tone, because like that's just what I've grown up doing as a musician, and Bridget does the same thing. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you really like keying into themes. Like, and I will note like an exceptional thing to happen, but not so much the themes across a whole show.
Yeah, true. Okay, so what are we thinking for art? I'm looking at a number that seems like it's coming across. What are you guys thinking?
I'm between a 4.5 and a 4, but that's only because a place further than the universe is in my mind, as like comparing it against.
Yeah, I'm the same realm. Like
I am
and
too.
That's the thing is, I think it might be worthy of the 4.5. Might. Just on the merits of the creativity of Wildness alone. Like, while the base thing doesn't have a ambitious art style, it's a platform for a lot of jokes, a lot of references, a lot of imagination that those other shows that have a stronger art style can't perform on.
I actually agree. I think Love is War, because like here's what I'm thinking. I think Love is War, my first reaction, it's a 4. It's good. It's often beautiful, cohesive, fitting, but there's a lot of times where it's more ambitious than other shows. It's more engaging. It's more notable. I'd be willing to go up to a 4.5. I think this show makes a strong case for deserving more than a good.
And we haven't said this in a while, but this is like a 4 reaching up to a 4.5, not coming down from a 5.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do we say 4.5?
4.5.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
All right, 4.5 is in. Let's move on to story. Story includes plot devices, tone/mood, continuity, world building, pacing, rules and systems, tropes. Braden, what's a 1? What's 5?
R1 is where the story in the anime was frequently nonsensical, inconsistent, boring, confusing, ambiguous, unoriginal, and disappointing. Whereas at 5 are exceptional animes where the story was always consistent, well-paced, comprehensible, consummate, on point in its mood and tone, and unique.
Can I start?
Go for it.
Okay,
And then
I
I'll
just
go
want to say
after.
one thing. I didn't like the pacing, but I recognize that the show is trying to be a 10K, not a 5K. It's not the kind of race I would usually sign up for, but where it's trying to be a 10K, I think overall the pacing is better than I enjoyed. So I'm not going to let my personal enjoyment hold back my technical analysis. Even though I think there are some pacing issues, I'm not going to go as far as to say it was horrible just because I didn't like it.
I want to jump in. Oh, sorry, Skyler. Go ahead.
So the other thing that I'll add on to this is that this is one of those shows where it's just frankly weird and it's going to be hard to rate. Because kind of like I said in the enjoyment section, this starts off as an episodic rom-com where what happened in even like earlier sequences sometimes or doesn't have an impact on what happens later at all. But then in season 3, it does develop a plot, and then it does follow that plot through season 3. And so this one's weird where it both has an ongoing plot but also doesn't.
I want to solidify a little bit because I think I have a good, more solid line for both things.
Okay.
So we have to rate this one on an episodic scale. First of all, this is not one that is of a story, right? They're from beats. They're for those flavors of the episode that show up over the arcs. The arcs, those flavors reference each other from season to season. And while they don't progress a story, there's not, unless you're a season finale, you're not going to get any kind of story progression out of this. This is not a show about a story. It's a show about the Sunday funnies in the comics. So you know what the world is like, but not so much. Can I disagree? What the story is progressing towards. Yeah, go for it.
The literal definition of the show, the intro of the show, the narrator comes out and says, "This is a show about two people, and whoever confesses love first loses." It is a story-based show of who is going to confess first. It is intended to be a story-based show that is presented episodically.
I agree with Braden here.
But go ahead.
I would say then the anime is over then, obviously, because they did confess love and it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and that's
I'm just saying what the show said.
And that's why I agree with Braden. But even then, the narrator in season 3 does say that if we were going off of this premise, then that happened a long time ago.
Interesting.
That was in season 3 where they acknowledged, where it's like, look, this is the premise of the show. And if we were really holding to this premise, then this would have been over a long time ago.
So,
but essentially, we are evolving past the initial premise that got you hooked on the show. And that's again why I'm saying that this is a bit of a different one to rate, because this isn't conventional.
Yes, I want to lay that out for episodic and even episodes within an episode, because there's 2 or 3 story beats that happen per episode that may or may not connect to each other at all. In fact, they usually don't.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're totally right. So I'm good doing it on an episodic scale.
Yeah.
Until season 3.
Sure. Sure. I'll give you a short. It probably ticks up a bit, but, sure.
Sure, okay.
I think it might be more consistent for us to go on the episodic mindset, which takes out a lot of plot. Because the overarching plot is like the year's advance or whatever, and they have to vote for the president to become president again, or he won't be, and then he's going to go to a faraway land, or he doesn't, and then they hold hands. And there's more. You can fill in more, but that's what I'm saying, is like that's about as loose as our plot gets, which is okay. It's not much to talk about, honestly. It's okay. World building. We're going off our points here. World building. There's not much of a world. It's pretty much localized to that one classroom.
That one room.
Yep.
Which in and of itself is cool to say, because a lot of anime that are based in a single room get boring.
That's true.
This show is a lot of things, and unless you're me, it's really not boring. It's very interesting and unique. And
which, it being a one-room show, could honestly lead it to being like a bunch of short skits, like for a theater to put on.
Hey, that's true. That's true.
Like if you know the tag, just show up every week for your 15-minute or 10-minute, Kaguya-Sama live action performance, because anime does have a history of being performed on a stage, and that's much different than the live action movies.
And it's always better.
It's always better.
Okay.
So world building, there's a little bit here, but the tropes, right? The tropes and the continuity. I think we can talk around.
I actually do want to throw out also a note on pacing. Here's what I want to say on the pacing, right?
Yeah.
What I want to say on the pacing is we are taking the show episodically, but they do try to have the consistent thread of the two main characters' romance throughout.
Yes.
And I do believe that despite my own personal whatevers, that there was some pacing issues with how they handled that. Example being the end of season 1, right? End of season 1, they literally hit the reset button. I don't think they had to do that, and it would have made the show feel paced better if they hadn't done that at the end of season 1, and if they had left some threads connecting it to season 2, moving forward. Season 2 could have been, like, honestly, they did not need to end season 2 where they did. I think we talked about that in enjoyment. The ending of season 2 was a very strange, weird place to end a season. Like, the pacing of how they broke up the seasons feels like it could have been a little better to have more continuity and more consistency through the telling of the story. I'll put that out there.
Skyler has things he wants to say, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, so the thing is about most of the time when it's adapted from a manga is they actually do a really, really good job at adapting the manga into the anime. And this is something that we've talked about on this podcast before, but a lot of times the issues that anime has when adapting anything, but especially manga, is that they have this weird restriction of like they have to be within 12 or 13 episodes, and they can't really go too much beyond or under that limit. And because of that restriction, it's kind of hard for them to just skip over or end the manga in a certain place, because even in the manga it was very, very episodic, chapter to chapter, up until again that deadline was set, and then things started to move at a different pace and in a different way.
Sure.
And so where it feels weird to end the anime on those notes, that's not what it feels like in the manga, because in the manga it's just another chapter.
Sure, but this is an anime podcast.
I get that, but at the same time, it's also a rom-com, and that's just par of the course for rom-coms.
That's where I
All right.
disagree. Other rom-coms do it better.
I want to jump in here. I will agree with you, Brett, on season 1 with the reset. Like, the reset is a funny comedic note, but I don't think it flowed well with the arc of the story as it progressed. However, I have to defend my boy getting his time to shine in season 2.
I didn't say he shouldn't get it. I just said
No.
I just said how they chose to end it.
I'm just saying that point was incredible. Like, of all the places, I don't know how that felt so right of a time to put that little arc in, but it was for me. And also and I don't remember how any of the seasons start. I guess that's what I want to go to. Is like, I don't remember how they tied into season 3, and I don't remember how season 1 ties into season 2. Besides that, there's very polarizing notes on how they finish off their seasons.
Season 3 was literally the aftermath of the balloon explosion.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Wait, they just put it back together or something?
Yeah, it just,
Anyway.
like, reversed and back in.
So, this is when I was just tossing out numbers, so I want to kind of move on from here. We've kind of settled on some stuff. Episodically, I think its continuity in how it wanted to tell its episodes is a 5, honestly. The ice cream flavoring, the analogy of what you're going to expect when you get into that episode, and how they keep building onto that, amazing. A lot of its story beats, probably more towards a 3. It's pretty average or unnotable or non-notable because of its episodic format, to where it's fine, and it kind of allows for the other things to happen, like the crazy animation and the other ways it did storytelling that wasn't actually telling a plot or story. So I want to steer towards a 4, is my argument.
I would actually totally go for 4. I think it's better than a lot of shows, but I also don't think it's like exceptional. I think the note you brought up is the story that much better than other rom-coms?
Yeah.
Not really. It's presented in a good way, but it's not. I don't think it's exceptional. But yeah, I could totally go for 4. I think it's very good.
Sorry if you guys heard or saw that. I just thought of a recommendation for this show, and I'm gonna write it down right now so don't forget it. Oh, it's so good.
What are you thinking, Sky?
Well, and I guess for me, this is where just my expectations were different. Because for me, when I got into it, I was expecting episodic, and because I'm just gotten used to rom-coms, I wasn't expecting progress. And so when I got
Neither of us said progress.
Yeah, no one of us said progress here.
No. But that includes for the macro plot. So like for the macro plot, which is the relationship of the two main characters, I wasn't expecting that macro plot to really go anywhere because it was a rom-com. That wasn't a part of my expectation.
Skyler, I don't think you're disagreeing with us. I'm saying that's what I expected out of this anime, and it's on par with how a story of that nature would go. It wasn't extraordinary.
Okay.
It just did its job.
I agree. Yeah. I wasn't talking about macro either. I was talking about the micro plot, like the episodic nature of this show. It does what other episodic shows do. It's not like above and beyond all those other shows. Like, yeah, it's totally in line with what I'd expect, but probably a little better.
And that's where I would agree with and better, especially with the way that they handle tropes, because kind of like we mentioned earlier in the enjoyment, they would create tropes within their own show and then go off of those own off of the tropes that they themselves created.
Correct. And that's what I'm proposing as a 5. Is extraordinary, actually, is what they did with their own flavors.
And I'd actually agree with that. I think they did that incredibly well.
Skyler, what number are you thinking?
I was thinking 4.5, but I would be good with a 4.
I'm honestly a 3.5 reaching up.
And I'm like smack on a 4.
So
I'm right there. So is 4 the middle ground?
Yep.
Right.
Lock that boy in. That was a good discussion. It was a pretty good discussion.
All right, we're on 4, and we're on to characters. Characters includes design, development, motivation, action-in-action relationships, and personality. Braden, what's 1, what's 5?
Our terrible characters for anime are characters that are frequently unreasonable, confusing, inconsistent, unreasonably static and dynamic, and annoying. Where our 5 characters are characters that are always understandable, consistent, reasonable, adequately static, dynamic, and relatable. Alrighty. Oh man, reading that off, the thing that stood out to me was adequately static dynamics. I know we want to talk about that part. So what words do we have there for our people? Because adequately is so strange here, right?
It's a rom-com.
It's an episodic rom-com with characters who are flavors more than like reasonable things.
Yeah.
So I think what everyone is expecting is for me to say that they are not adequately static dynamic. However, what I'm going to say is 2 things. Number 1, the show is episodic, but they do have an underlying A-plot, which is 2 characters who are trying to be dynamic. However, the show is also intending to be a longer show. So where it is trying to be a long show, are they adequately dynamic for the length of show they're trying to tell, the length of story? I'd say probably.
Yeah. That's most of what I was going to phone in for.
Even though I hate it, I think that technically for the length of like if you were to take like hey, we're going to make a 200 episode anime, which means in order to get to the end goal, which is them, I don't know, we'll just say sleeping together. Then we've got to break up
anime. What?
We've got to break up this progression of their physical relationship by 200 episodes, which means we can only go so far in a season, or like it's going to accelerate too quickly. And so if that's like their goal, then I'm like, yeah, like they are being adequately dynamic for the length of story they're trying to tell. And given the pacing of the A plot, I think that it's clear that they're in this for like probably 6 seasons. So. I think it's adequate.
I think they hold up pretty strong. Like they find their identities and they lock in, especially with their identities within their episode beats of the board games or the ramen queen or whatever they're doing. Though I gotta shout out that I definitely find the main character to be a stick in the mud. So in my book, he's a dog down on our character lineup. He gets there by the end, but there's a long line there where he's not adequate in my book.
I will agree that the design of his character was to be more of a gray color, where all these other characters were very bright and vibrant.
Yeah. And the show is named Kaguya-Sama, which is not the boy.
Show.
It's her show. It could be argued.
If you want a more gray character, I think Ishigami fits that.
Okay, but he's emo.
Sure.
That's different.
But he's black, right?
Yeah,
he's black. Shirogane is he's supposed to be blue, but he's more of a gray.
He's
right?
he's a gray blue.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
I think again we've said he ramps up in season 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit, if I was gonna rank like who I thought were the best characters, like the best designed characters, I would probably go Kaguya, Fujiiwara, Ishigami, and then Shirigami. I would probably put him like 6th among all the main characters in terms of like being a good character.
If we're really going to talk about, there's not many characters in this show.
There's quite a bit.
I mean, there's a lot, but like we get to focus on some from like 8 or something like that.
Yeah. It's mostly on the main characters, but there are a good number of side characters that come in briefly.
Yeah. Consistent, reasonable, motivation, action in action, person. Like, I'm surprisingly kind of laissez-faire here.
Really? I'm kind of like thinking like good. Like,
yeah.
I'm thinking more on the good side. As I read the description, are they often understandable, consistent, reasonable? Yeah. Are they often relatable? Yes. Are they often adequately static, dynamic?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. Yes. I mean, they're adequately static because the show is supposed to be static. But like I think they are often that way.
I think I might just get worn down because it feels like about the same conversation as the story one. It's all about the characters, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think the characters were good. Like, if I was going to throw out a number, I'd say 4.
Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
Okay.
I'm just blocking my own mind with my dislike of the main character. That's where I'm at. So let's get me out of this fugue. Let's put it forward and wrap it up. And
all right, it's a 4. Moving on to delivery. Delivery includes translation, voice acting, sub-dub, script, and edit. Braden.
Yes, our terrible deliveries for anime are one where the delivery is frequently cheesy, unbalanced, inappropriate, incoherent, and bland. While our 5 animes are exceptional ones, or where the delivery is always believable, balanced, genuine, understandable, elevating, and enriching. Guys, there is something we have to bring up here. Is the dub was good. The dub is notable, and the announcer in the dub makes for a better experience in the dub. If you want to key in just for him,
it is good.
I will agree that the dub is good, but I still prefer the subbed.
Sure. Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, totally.
In fact,
but it is a good dub.
But the dub is good.
Like Agrasuko, I like when they sing in Japanese over than their English version. Like the rap episode I keep bringing up. It was okay in English. It just was that mom spaghetti note that I really loved. But you can find a bajillion and one YouTube clips of the narrator going off the rails in the dub version of the show. Because
awesome.
It is fun, and they did a great job there.
Oh yeah. Quick note on the rap episode. Apparently in the Japanese version, there's some famous Japanese rapper that was a coach for that episode.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's
bonus
sick.
Fun fact.
Oh.
That's great. I think the delivery of this show was really good.
Yeah. Like really.
I think the voice acting was really good for all the different characters. The translation I think was really on point, which that's what I would hope for. I don't think it's that notable. Like there's some good slang and stuff that they used.
I want to circle back on voice acting really quick.
Yeah, do it.
What I love talking about with voice acting is the spread of emotion or range they have. Because there's a lot of times they have like one like here note, and then they just jump up or jump middle, and maybe they'll be quiet for a low moment. Well, these guys are put through horror and like representing like trauma and going through oh no, and they are going through like excitement and giddiness and timidness, and they have the spread. I think they do an exceptionally good job.
I agree.
Maybe not as an always note, but as it shows up often enough, you got to give them credit for it.
Yeah.
The other note that I would bring up to yours, Brayden, is that this was something that I realized with Rascal, which is where when I've read either the light novel or the manga, and then I hear them voice acting, does it enrich what I read? And for Kaguya-Sama, they absolutely do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the delivery is enriching to the experience and it elevates it more than just if your typical average dub was going to happen. So, what are you guys thinking?
Man,
I'm thinking a 4.5 to maybe even a 5.
yeah, that's where I want our conversation. I agree.
Because they even get a little bit of bonus from the dub.
They do get a bonus from the dub.
I think going to a 4.5 is totally reasonable. I could go up to a 4.5.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold it to a 5 for the simple reason that, like, I think for a 5, it says the delivery is always. I don't know that, like, every character truly hits on the always thing.
Like Steins Gate.
Yeah, like Steins Gate or...
Great Pretenders are other 5 in delivery.
Yeah, Great Pretender. Like, I don't know if it quite gets there, but I think it's... Like Brayden says, I think it's a 4.5 falling from a 5. I don't know if I could really push this one all the way. Because when you think of, like, what... Like, just for example, we've given everything... in this show. We've given art a 4.5. We've given characters and story 4. Do we really, like, say, like, when you go to tell someone about the show, like, oh, you've got to watch Kaguya-Sama Love is War because the voice acting is dope. Like,
yeah,
you mentioned so many other things that are great about the show before the delivery of the show that, like, is it really good? Yeah, but it's not like, you don't call it out. Like, when you tell someone a Great Pretender, or you tell someone about Steins Gate, you mention those things like first almost, right? Like, you're like, oh, by the way, you gotta watch it this way, da-da-da. So for me, that's why I would be like, I think a 4.5 makes the most technical sense here.
I actually am more gearing towards a 4 after your bite, because often is exactly the note. Like, the thing that I find off that was extraordinary is the dub, specifically the narrator, who isn't an always character. He's not the only representation, even though he did an outstanding job. The thing that holds it down for me as a non-outstanding thing is that sometimes, or often rather, the voice acting was good or it was normal. So often is exactly the right tone, and our verbiage says often is a 4. Which, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense to me. Skyler, you're stroking your beard. What's up over
there? Yeah, you talked me down from the 4.55 range to the 4.5 range.
I'm honestly kind of in the same realm of 4.5. Like, I don't. To Brayden's point, if I'm thinking, like, I'm looking at the character list. There's a lot of meh on the character list in terms of delivery, but there's a lot of good. Like, I could go 4 or 4.5. Like, honestly, I'm good with either one of those.
Well,
if I'm looking at the rest of the scores, though, and we're grading the show against itself, I don't think the delivery stands out compared to the characters, compared to the story, compared to the... So, like, I think a 4 makes the most sense in the context of how we graded the rest of the show.
Well, I guess
to me,
Ishigami comes to mind now, where it's like for the most meh. But even that's just because of his character, not because of his delivery.
I actually thought his delivery
is
was
actually
good.
really, really good.
Yes, I agree. I thought his delivery was really good for the type of character he is. Like, Ai's voice, like Ai's character and voice acting, to me, it was just like a meh. Like, I don't think the delivery of that character was anything special. It was what it needed to be. Same thing with Kai. Even Fujiiwara, just your average, everyday, preppy, hyper character. Nothing, like, notable there. Like, nothing necessarily enriching. Like, her character was enriching for sure, but like I don't think the delivery of her character was anything, because most of the delivery of her character was in the animation, which we gave a 4.5.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'm feeling a 4.
I'm feeling a 4. 4?
Yeah.
We almost found a 4 only show.
But okay, I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say almost got a 4.5, but the rubric again is very, very good for helping us decide on these things.
Yeah.
This thing is getting more ironclad the more layers of ratings we put on top of it, and I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah. Okay, so as a recap, this show has for art a 4.5. Everything else scores a 4. So very good show for a final of 8.25. Technical rating 8.25. Braden, where does that put us?
That puts us pretty darn solid. I'm trying to count through all the ones we've done, but it's on par with Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the movie we rated in season 1.
No.
8.25 is the same.
Yes.
And then it's also the same as our Sword Art Online technical rating for the first 14 episodes. Now, that sits at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's now 7. It's now tied with 2 other shows for 7th place.
It's just barely below Great Pretender, which got an 8.5.
And it's higher than Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, which we gave an 8. Which is very interesting, because I think we collectively liked Bunny Girl Senpai more than this show.
I think so.
Yeah, we did. Our enjoyment was higher for Bunny Girl Senpai.
Grouping is too strong, guys, man. That thing's stacked. Love that thing. All right. Sweet.
Okay. All right. So 8.25. Here's the next question then. If you enjoyed watching Kaguya-Sama Love is War, what should you watch next? Let's start with Braden, because you came up with something good.
I came up with the good one. And I'll lead in with the good one, because the exact tempo for this show, the exact level of comedy, the exact setting, but with a little twist, I'm going to give you The Disastrous Life of Psyche K.
Okay.
Which is a just rambunctious anime about an OP main character, Psyche, who has telekinetic powers and can do anything with it. His list of powers are wacky and weird and all over the place, and they show up in much the same ice cream flavors. We have an episode where you know this is going to kind of this is what they're dealing with, an episode that's what they're going to deal with, even though it's season by season. There's a main plot that they just let happen or not happen, and they really don't care about it, because this is about as episodic as you can get of all the good, just mind-numbing fun. Absolutely on tempo is The Disastrous Life of Psyche K for comedy.
All right. Sky, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to throw one out. Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's just a solid romance that's just a little bit above a lot of other ones, but there's a lot of funny or interesting moments that happen in it. It's definitely not a rom-com, but it's good.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good comedy aspects to it.
Yeah, but that's not like what it is.
It's a romance. Well,
yeah. It's a romance. It's a romance coming of age drama.
Yeah.
Really, is what it is.
Boom.
Okay, I got one. I am going to recommend Horimiya.
Yep.
Horimiya is a great romance. I really like Horimiya because you get to see them in a relationship for most of the show. And so, like, it's as if you're picking up from the end of season 3 of Kaguya-Sama and jumping into Horimiya. I really enjoy Horimiya as a romance anime. There's also some good comedy moments. Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai is a coming-of-age drama. Horimiya does not have much drama. It's definitely more of a romance comedy kind of story. So.
Okay.
All right, what else, Braden?
All right, my second recommendation. I can't understand what my husband is saying.
Oh.
I am on 2 for 2 for recommending short form anime 2 weeks in a row this season. I don't think I can keep it going, but this one kind of fits here. This is in the rom-com sphere. Again, these episodes are like 4 to 5 minutes long, or 2 to 5 minutes long. They're little bites, and this is the most rapid-fire comedy I have ever seen in my life. Warning, it is inappropriate. It's adult, which is one thing, because it's about adult relationships, but it's also just inappropriate on other matters. So warning on that, you'll be seeing a lot of varied stuff there. However, it's tender, they have good conversations, and it is some wacky fun comedy, especially for the tiny little short form it's got.
All right, Skyler.
So whenever you talk about something that takes forever, there's always one anime that comes to mind, and that's My Hero Academia.
Yep.
Are you recommending that here?
Sure, because there's a love interest that takes.
Well done, sir.
I don't even think that it's gotten to a point where they've even admitted that there's even any romance in that thing yet.
No, she
But
gets strung high and dry for way long.
But yeah, just for the pacing of just like, well, you're in here for the long haul. Whenever that gets brought up, My Hero comes to mind. So I'll throw that one out.
All right. Okay, I'll do a... First off, I'm going to recommend our last week's episode. If you haven't seen our episode on Toradora and Golden Time, go watch Toradora and Golden Time, then go watch the episode, because at the end of Toradora and Golden Time episode of this podcast, I actually lay out a whole ton of romance recommendations. So go watch that episode of our podcast. But to give another recommendation for this show, I'll follow suit with Skyler and do something that's not even close to related in the same genre, and it's way, way out there. Braden actually brought it up at the beginning of the episode. It's Code Geass, Season 1. Stop after Season 1. Trust me, stop after Season 1. Also, adult, mature content in Code Geass, just as a heads up. Watch Code Geass if you want to see, like, over-the-top, complex planning of intricate things, and if you want to be surprised, if you want to think you know what's coming but you want to get surprised, Code Geass is like a thriller adventure, edge of your seat. Season 1 is fantastic. Yeah,
I just want to toss out there that if you replace the words Code Geass with Death Note, it's the exact same thing. There's only Season 1. Don't go to Season 2. There's no point there. We worry about warning about mature content anyway. That's for another review, I think. All right.
Any other recommendations?
Kind of. I just want to note on Toradora, like Toradora actually has more romance and more exploration of like a story theme than Kaguya-Sama does, but they're pretty tie on line between funny setups of comedy, between a nice setup of characters, but Toradora definitely is a romance, while this is definitely more of a comedy. So, Toradora. Just another breach out for that. That's all I got. That's it for me.
You're done, Braden? Are you sure you don't want to recommend B-Stars?
No. For this? No. I got some A+ recommendations this week. I'm sticking strong here. You can recommend B-Stars if you want. That's a whole different thing.
I'll make one more kind of recommendation, since my second one, Code Geass, was just like way out there. I'm gonna recommend something kind of side related. I'm gonna recommend Belle the movie. Here's why. Belle is a musical. If you want to just get completely swept away by incredible music, stunning visuals, that kind of has a romance-ish sort of. It's basically an anime retelling of the story of the Beauty and the Beast. Go for the music and just fall in love. Like, we talked a lot about the music. I talked a lot about the music of Kaguya-Sama. If you want a musical movie, Belle is a good musical. It is a bad movie, but it is a good musical, yes. I think. So That's my last recommendation.
Okay, I'll do one more. Spy Family.
Oh, yes! Oh, yeah!
So Spy Family, literally where we mentioned earlier that there were some like spy, like subterfuge type things, but in Spy Family you also have the dynamic of essentially the entire family trying to outsmart each other to do their own thing. But done in a very, very good way.
Oh, I am so jealous you thought of that recommendation because I saw it earlier on my list and I'm like, oh, that's the one. And then I just forgot. Yeah, Spy Family for sure. In fact, we rated Spy Family on this podcast as well. So go check out our Spy Family episode 2. Spoiler, it actually scored higher than this show. So
It's true. And we're
check that out.
We're probably have to do a follow-up episode around this season time when part 2 of season 1 releases end of this year. So get ready for it. It's coming.
Yep, it's coming. Speaking of what's coming up, we've got next week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be phenomenal. It is something we should have done forever ago. We waited until season 2 because we wanted to really make sure our podcast was clicking on all cylinders, that our rubric was solid, because this show deserves nothing less. This is Demon Slayer. We are going all the way through season 1, Mugen Train, season 2, up to current time as of September 2022 when it's recorded. So come back next week for Demon Slayer. Check us out, 310anime.com, 310anime.com. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Jane.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.
まるで妻が夜な夜な内職してコツコツ稼いだお金で働きもせず飲む打つ買うもする典型